Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary, direct from our newsroom, otherwise known as my Compost Heap. Let's see what stories we're working on. Let's see, can I find a rubber stamp here? No, this isn't exactly a rubber stamp. I know where you can find one. Down at City Hall where the Board of Aldermen meets. This week they were in fine form. They rubber stamped the mayor's proposal to sell prime downtown land for $1 to a developer to build a 31-story tower at the corner of State and Chapel Street, the old Shartenberg site. Now, we've spoken before why this is just a terrible idea. It's this new, you could call it vision if you want, of development of trying to become like Hartford with all these subsidized big towers and throwing away the whole idea of new urbanism with human scale, street scale, supporting individual non-subsidized development. But the big issue this week was the rubber stamping process. At the last minute, City Hall waited to turn over a new appraisal for what that property is worth that they're selling for $1. It turns out that when they negotiated this deal with the developer, they were claiming that that property was worth $1 million less than it turns out it's really worth. So in other words, they negotiated from a position of weakness rather than strength, that they undervalued their property before they even gave it away. Now, why does this matter? Well, City Hall waited. They had this document for weeks. They waited till the last minute to give it to the aldermen before they voted because they knew that there's such rubber stamps that they wouldn't do what any self-respecting lawmaker or human being would do, which is say, you can't just throw this at the last minute, showed us you screwed up, and then we're just going to go ahead and approve it anyway. We're going to wait and look at this thing. But that's not what they do, and that's a problem. And actually, that's what the issue is next Tuesday when the city goes to the polls in Democratic primaries for aldermen. A lot of these races have to do with people who are fed up with this rubber stamp government. It's cost us money. We're paying more in taxes because we lost millions of dollars in botched cases by the Corp Counsel's office, and the Board of Aldermen did not scrutinize City Hall because they're in league with the mayor. The mayor used our money to have a consultant's report about how to improve that department. Then he censored the report because it damaged one of his allies. The Board of Aldermen went right along with it. Community policing went backwards. We had this retrograde program called IDNet. While the mayor's running for governor, Board of Aldermen said nothing, let it go backwards because they cared more about the politics and the team they were on rather than making this a good city. That doesn't mean you vote for everyone who's against the mayor next Tuesday. We don't make endorsements anyway. You got to look at each candidate. The issues are different in each race. Some of what City Hall obviously does is great, like its immigration policies. You have to look at the races. But remember that issue because it matters. Here's another suggestion. Here's a phone. Maybe they could send it to the person who negotiated this Shartenberg deal I was just telling you about, Kelly Murphy. She's the Economic Development Administrator for the city. And this is another example with this appraisal that got botched and then not given to the alderman of how she has to easily be the most incompetent, bumbling, hopeless economic development administrator I've seen at least in the last 25 years of watching City Hall. And it's happened time and time again. She can't use that phone and call state officials. That's why they've been after us about how all these screw-ups that they claim we've made with the demolishing the Coliseum and the Gateway project, whether or not they're right or wrong, was a communication issue. She can't pick it up and call our own state legislators, so they embarrassed her and her development in the city by tying up a prime piece of land for another purpose without telling her when she was supposedly negotiating a different deal for that land. She tried to negotiate with the New Haven Hospital. She then blasted them for taking a position that it turns out was in a document that she signed and approved. Forget about calling back the press or even explaining her position there. She just doesn't do it. It doesn't happen. But how does the mayor react to that? Keeps her on board and creates a new position for someone making over $80,000. Oh, that's going to solve the problem. Well, I guess that's why we have democracy or some kind of version of it in New Haven. Till next week, this is a New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary, and remember, always pick up or vote out your trash.